Hello everyone, welcome to another video tutorial on the Python series of tutorials by Simplilearn. Today we are going to learn about Lambda functions in Python. In our previous video we have already seen the important built-in functions and how to write user-defined functions in Python. In this video we are going to learn about Lambda functions in Python. So what is a Lambda function? A Lambda function is one of the simplest ways to define a function in Python. A Lambda function is an anonymous function defined without a name and does not have the def keyword. It can accept any number of arguments but can only have one expression. So the function is always defined using the lambda keyword, which you can see it here. So here we have the syntax for lambda function. We use the lambda keyword followed by the arguments, and then we have a colon. After that we have the expression that we want to evaluate. Cool. Now moving ahead, let's look at an example of using lambda function in Python. Now if you were to add two numbers in Python using a function, you would ideally use the def keyword followed by the function name and then pass in the arguments. You can see the arguments here, a and b. Then use the return statement to get the value of the addition. So we have return a plus b, and finally you will call the add function and pass the argument values to get the result. Now this operation can be done using the lambda function as shown here. So we have defined a variable called add, which is equal to, and then we have used the lambda function followed by the two parameters or arguments. So here a and b are the arguments, and then I have my expression a plus b. See, all this you can do it in one line. And then to call the function you use print followed by the variable which is add, and then you have the arguments 3, 8. So the addition of 3 plus 8 would be 11. Now you can see that instead of using the def keyword, we have used the lambda keyword, and there is no parenthesis required. Anything after the lambda keyword is treated as a parameter or argument. So we use a colon to separate parameters and the expression. In our case the expression is a plus b. Now moving ahead, we'll look at the pros and cons of lambda functions. So lambda functions are suitable for simple logical operations. So when we want one expression in return, we can use the lambda function. Now lambda function is used as a parameter to different functions such as map, filter, reduce. We will see all this in our demo session. Now coming to the cons of using a lambda function. So lambda functions can only evaluate one expression, as I told you earlier. You cannot write a docstring to explain all the inputs, operations and outputs as you would do in a normal user-defined function that uses the def keyword. And finally, lambda functions are generally not preferred when you have to declare a function with multiple lines of code. Now let's head over to our Jupyter notebook where we will learn about lambda functions and how to use it in different ways. So I'm on my Jupyter notebook. Let me just go ahead and will rename the notebook as lambda functions in Python. Okay, I'll just click on rename. Cool. First of all, I'll write a general user-defined function using the def keyword. Let's say I want to add two numbers. So this example we have already seen in our slide. So the way to do is I'll use the def keyword followed by the function name, and then I'm giving my arguments or the parameters. After that, let's say I want to store the addition of a plus b in a variable called result. So I'll say result equal to a plus b, and then I want to return my output, that is result. So I'll say return result. So this is how you will normally create a function in Python. If I run it, and then I'm going to call my function using the function name, that is add, and then I'll pass in my parameters a and b. Let's say my a is 3 and b is 4. If I run this, I will get the result 7, which is fair enough. Now if I want to do the same operation using a lambda function, I would do something like this. Let's say I'll create a variable called add, and then I'm going to use the lambda function followed by the arguments a comma b. Then I'll give a colon and say a plus b. After that I'll just say add and then pass in my parameters 3 comma 4. If I run it, you have the same result, that is 7. Now let's see another example using lambda functions to add a number. This time I'm going to pass in only one argument. So I'll say add equal to lambda, my argument is x, I'll say x colon x plus, let's say I want to add x with 100, I'll say print add, let's say I want to add 50 with 100. If I run it, I have the result 150. Alright. Now in Python, there is no need to assign a lambda to a variable. You can directly call it. Let me show you how to do it. I'll say lambda a comma b, which are my arguments. Again, this time I'm going to use a multiplication operator since I want to do a product of a and b. And after that, using another parenthesis, you can directly pass in the arguments. So there is no need to explicitly assign a lambda to a variable. So if I want to find the product of, let's say 15 comma 30, if I run it, I have the result 40. Let's change the arguments. Let's say I want to find the product of 5 comma 7. The answer is 35. So this is known as an immediately invoked function expression, or IIFE, which is often pronounced as IFE. Now you can also use keyword arguments using lambda functions. Let me show you what I mean. I'll create my lambda function and assign it to a variable called product. I'll say lambda, let's say my arguments are x, y and z. After that I'll give a colon and say x multiplied by y multiplied by z. Next I'll say print my variable, that is product, and here I'm going to use keyword arguments. So I'll say, let's say z equal to 5, x equal to 10 and y equal to 4. You can see here this need not be in an order as you have defined the arguments. If I run this, I have the result, the product of 5 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 4 is 200. Now you can also use default arguments. Suppose I say add equal to, I'll use the lambda function and say x comma y, I am assigning a default value of, let's say 15, and z, let's say I'll assign a default value of 24. Then I'll give my colon followed by the expression, that is x plus y plus z. Now I'll say print add. Now here I'm going to only pass in my value for x, since I have already given a default value for argument y and z. So my function only needs one argument, that is x. So let's say I want x to be 20. If I run this, you see the result here. So 20 plus 15 plus 24 is 59. Now you can also use the asterisk args parameter, or args. So this allows you to define as many arguments as you want. So I'll say addition equal to lambda, then I'll say asterisk args. So this will allow us to pass in as many arguments as you want, and I want to find the sum of args. So I'm using the inbuilt sum function in Python. Now I'll say print my variable name, that is addition, and let's say I want to find the sum for 4 values or 4 arguments, let's say 20, 2, 40 and let's say 50. If I run it, so the value is 112. So 20 plus 2 plus 40 plus 50 is 112. Cool. Now lambda functions are also used with higher order functions which take one or more functions as arguments or return one or more functions. Let me show you. So I'll define a variable called higher underscore ord underscore fun, which stands for function and ord stands for order. So I'll declare my lambda function. Suppose the parameters are x, and then I have a function, and then followed by a colon I have my expression as x plus function of x. Now I'll say higher underscore ord underscore fun, and I'll pass in my two arguments. Let's say my x is 20, and for this function I'll have a lambda function defined. I'll say lambda x colon x multiplied by x. Now let me just run this and I'll show you the result. Okay, so what it did was it added my value of x, that is 20, with function of x or fun of x. What is fun of x? Fun of x is x multiplied by x. So 20 multiplied by 20 is 400. So this becomes 400 plus x, which is 400 plus 20, hence the result is 420. So this is known as a higher order function. Now let me show you another example. Let's say I want to display odd or even by taking the value of x. I'll say lambda x colon. Here I am going to pass in my expression. If x mod 2, give a space here, I'll say and odd or even. Now I'll give my argument value, let's say 30. The result is even because 30 is divisible by 2. I'll just change this to, let's say, 15. If I run it, the answer is odd because 15 is not divisible by 2. Let's say I have 150, the answer is even. Now moving ahead, so let's write a lambda function that checks if a string is a substring of the given string. So I'll create a variable called sub underscore string. Now I'll assign this variable with a lambda function. I'll say lambda, my argument, let's say string. I'll give the colon and pass in my expression string in. Let's say my string has this message, welcome to Python Functions tutorial. Okay, so we are going to check if a string, let's say in, to, welcome, Python, Java, anything, whether it's present inside this string which is welcome to Python Functions tutorial. Now let me go to the next line. I'm going to print sub underscore string, and let's say I want to check for my string, let's say Java. If I run it, it gives me false because the word Java is not present inside my string welcome to Python Functions tutorial. Suppose I write Python. Now one thing to note here is the P is small and here the P is in capital letter. If I run it, it again gives me false because Python is case sensitive. Now if I make this as capital P, it will result in true. Let's say I want to say, instead of tutorial, let's say I have training. If I run it, it tells me false because this word training is not there in the string welcome to Python functions tutorial. I'll change this to tutorial. You see here I have my result as true. Alright. Now let's see how to use lambda functions using filter function. So we are going to filter a list of numbers using a specific condition. So I'll create a list called num. Let's say it has values 40, 10, 40, then we have 56, 27, let's say 33, 15 and 70. So this is my list. Now I am going to use my lambda function along with the filter function. So I'll pass in my variable as greater. I'll say list, then I'm going to pass in the filter function, and inside the filter function I'll use the lambda function, and I'll have my argument as num, and my expression, let's say I want to filter only those values which are greater than 30. So I'll say num greater than 30. This is my expression or the condition that we want to check. I'll give a comma and I'll have my next argument as num, and let's go ahead and print the variable greater. If I run this, there you go. You can see here we have all the values from the list or the numbers from the list that are greater than 30. So we have 40, 56, 33 and 70. So 10, 27 and 15 are less than 30, and hence those three values were not printed. Now let's say you want to filter a list of numbers that are divisible by 4. So I'll create another list called list1, and let's say I'll have the same values in the list, so I'll just copy it and I'll paste it here, and I'll create my variable, let's say divide. I'll say divide equal to list1. I'll use the filter function followed by the lambda function. I'll say x colon, then I'll have my expression x mod 4 should be equal to 0. I'll give a comma and pass in my next argument as my list1. Now I'm going to say print divide. Okay, I'll remove the bracket here. There is no need of a bracket here. Cool. And we'll delete here as well. Now let's run it. Okay, there is one error here. This should be list1. Let's run it again. Okay, there is some error. Let's debug it. Okay, so this should be the function list. Cool. There you go. So here you can see we have two numbers 40 and 56 that are divisible by 4. The remaining numbers are not divisible by 4 and hence were not printed. Alright, now let's go ahead and explore how you can use the map function along with the lambda function. So the map function accepts two arguments, a function and a list. It takes that function and applies it to every element of the list and returns the modified list. So we'll create a list called list2. I'll say equal to, and again we are going to have the same values in the list as above. So I'll just copy those values or the numbers and I'll paste it here. Okay, now let's say I want to find the value of a number multiplied by 2. So I'll say, let's say the variable name is double the num or double the number. I'm going to use the list function followed by the map function this time, and then we'll have our lambda function. I'll pass in my argument as x colon followed by the expression, so x multiplied by 2. I'll give a comma and then we'll have the list, that is list2. There's a spelling mistake here. This should be list2. Alright, now I'm going to say print double underscore the underscore num. Make sure there is no space in the variable name. Now if I run it, you can see here we have multiplied every number in the list by 2. So 10 multiplied by 2 is 20, 40 multiplied by 2 is 80, similarly 30 multiplied by 2 is 66, 15 multiplied by 2 is 30, and again we have 70 multiplied by 2 is 140. So this is how you can use map function with lambda functions. Now suppose you want to find the power of a number. Let's say I want to find the power of a number raised to 3. So I'll create a list called list 3. Let's say I have values 2, 5, 10, 6, 4, and then let's say we have 12. I'll say cube. So I want to find the value of a number raised to the power 3. So for that I'm going to use the map function followed by the lambda function. I'll pass in my argument x, and then here I am going to use the inbuilt power function in Python. So POW, my argument x, and this x I want to raise it to the power of 3, and then I'll have my next argument, which is list underscore 3 or list 3. Okay, now let's print the list. So I'll say list of cube. I'll run it. You can see here, so 2 raised to the power 3 or 2 cube is 8, 5 cube is 125, 10 cube is 1000, 6 cube is 216, 4 cube is 64, and 12 cube is 1728. Now coming to the final section of the demo, where we'll see how to use the reduce function in Python along with the lambda function, and then we'll use a lambda function within a user-defined function. So first let's look at how to use reduce in Python. So reduce applies a rolling calculation to all items in a list. You can use it to calculate the total sum or to multiply all the numbers together. So reduce function is a part of functools module. So to use the reduce function you need to import the functools module first. So I'll say from functools import my function, that is reduce, and then I'll say, let's say I have my list 4 this time. I'll create a list. I'm going to take the same values as above and I'll pass in within a list, and now I want to find the sum of all the numbers that are present inside this list called list 4. So I'll do that using my reduce function followed by the lambda function. So I'll say x comma, and I'll give my expression as y colon x plus y, give a comma and pass in my last argument, which is my list itself, which is list 4. Alright, and then I'll say print sum. Let's run it. There you go. So 2 plus 5 plus 10 plus 6 plus 4 plus 12 is 39. So this is how you can use the reduce function in Python. Suppose you wanted to find the product of all the numbers present inside the list, so you can just use the asterisk instead of the addition operator. Now if I run this, you have the product of all the numbers that were present inside the list, that is list 4. We have 28,800. Now let me show you the final demo, that is using a lambda function in a user-defined function. So first of all I'll create a user-defined function to calculate the value of a quadratic equation. So for some of you who don't know the formula of quadratic equation, it is ax square plus bx plus c. So we are going to use that formula in our function and find the value using lambda function. So I'll create a user-defined function called quadratic, and it will have 3 arguments, a, b, c. I'll say return, and here in the return expression I'm going to pass in my lambda function. I'll say lambda x, which is my argument. I'll say x colon, and then I'll have my equation, which is a x square. So I'm saying a multiplied by x raised to the power 2, so I'm using double asterisk, plus b multiplied by x, so this becomes ax square plus bx, plus I have my constant, that is c. Now just go to the next line. I'm going to create a variable, let's say f. I'll have my user defined function name quadratic. I'll pass in the values for a, b and c. Let's say a is 2, b is 3, and c is, let's say, 5, and I'll call a of 1. The value of x is 1, the value of a is 2, the value of b is 3, and the value of c is 5. Now let's run it and see the result. So ax square plus bx plus c for a equal to 2, b equal to 3, and c equal to 5, the result is 10. Now let's change it to, let's say I want the value of x as 2. If I run it, you have the equation evaluated and the result is 19. Alright. So that brings us to the end of this video tutorial on using lambda functions in Python. I hope it was useful and informative. If you have any queries, please feel free to put them in the comment section of the video. Thank you for watching.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.